This is ContraZoom,
where we go back and forth about film.
I'm Dakota Arsenault.
And I'm Rachel Ho.
Over the last few weeks, really the last 4 episodes, we've done 3 Oscar Best Picture specials, where each episode would break down 3 to 4 of the Best Picture nominees. And then we also threw in a make-remake, which included another Oscar-nominated film. But we're back to our really topical Oscar stuff, and that is Rachel and I going to make fools of ourselves by trying to predict who is going to win at the Oscars this year. And so we're going to do 2 things here. We're going to talk about who we think will win and who we want to win, and if there's any sort of difference there. And the reason why we're not doing snubs or anything like that is because we're actually working on an article, and if you've been following the show, you've probably saw it last year or the year before, but Rachel and I do our own sort of quasi-Oscar picks, and it's basically the best of the year as far as the breakdowns go for the categories that the Oscar gives us. So we do all the actor, actresses, director, but we also do production design and costumes and song and all that sort of fun stuff. So yeah, that's going to be coming out. I'm not too sure the timeline of when they'll be out. It'll be out after this episode, but you'll probably be seeing us tweeting about it and things like that. So I hope you also check that out as far as our Oscar coverage goes. But Rachel, you weren't on any of the Best Picture breakdowns. I know we tried to get you on the last one, but the timing just didn't work because of your traveling schedule. But I'm curious, how is your you don't really Oscar death race, but how is your Oscar preparation going?
It's good. First off, I just want to say you said we have been doing this, and I was going to be like, I didn't do any of those episodes.
Moral support, Rachel.
That's all been you. I know it has. I did help with titles. That was my biggest contribution to those episodes. Also, you said doo-doo and it made me laugh. Anyways, I don't do the Oscar death race, but I've seen, I haven't actually tabulated how many I've seen. I probably should have done that, but I've seen pretty much all of them, which I would say the exceptions are the shorts. I haven't seen all the shorts. A few of the docs I've missed out on. And To Leslie, still haven't seen To Leslie. We'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I've done pretty well, I think. I mean, I do you know what the average is for Oscar death race? Like, how well do people usually do?
Well, I'm sort of compared against the people I do it with in the online community I do it, and they're super hardcore. And
I can imagine.
Some of them, like Jeff's been done for a month.
Yeah,
like he's insane like that. Paulo, I know he's going to be cutting it down to the wire, but he's also usually pretty busy doing 50 other projects at the same time. I've got 8 left. Well, 7.5. I literally had to pause A House Made of Splinters halfway through to do this recording, and I'll get back to it later tonight where I can resume my crying. Basically, to reiterate, you've seen all the Best Picture nominees, you've seen all the major contenders, more or less, and it's really only a handful of ones where, you're just going to have to throw up your arms if you're not able to get to them by the time
Oscar like if I don't watch Tell It Like a Woman, that's okay. I'm okay not watching that one, because, I am aware of Diane Warren. I think we all are. We all know who she is. And to be honest, she's written some great songs over her career. Some lovely songs that I'm sure I grew up with as well. But yeah, if I don't get to that one, I'm fine. The one that I really do, and I'm kind of kicking myself for having not gotten to it yet, is To Leslie. And that's just because obviously the whole story behind it coming out of nowhere. So that's definitely one that I will absolutely watch. I want to say before the ceremony, but it might be after. But I am definitely going to watch it just because it's curious. It's piqued my curiosity.
See what the fuss is all about.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. You feeling confident with who you've put down for your wants and wishes?
My wants, yes, very confident with those.
and wishes. I don't know.
But my actual picks, I mean, there are a few categories that I'm like, it could go either way. So I'm not too sure. I actually, if I'm completely honest, still don't have my Best Picture pick yet. I'm going to feel it when time comes. I'm going to feel it, and then we'll get there.
Well, spoiler alert, that'll be at the very end of our list.
I assume so.
You've got a little bit of time to talk about it. But let's start with the big ones, and we'll start with the acting categories. We'll start with Best Actor.
Okay.
And so the nominees are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nye for Living. So, Rachel, how about you start us off? Because I'm very curious to hear what you think here. Who do you think will win, and who do you want to win?
Okay, I'll go with who I want to win, which is Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin.
Really? Okay.
I know, yeah. I just really like his performance in that. I think he's brilliant. And I know that this is not the way to choose to vote for people, but he just had such a great year last year. He has had such a great year with so many different varied performances, and I love Colin Farrell, and I think that he's been a great actor for his entire career, but has been overlooked for a very, very long time. And it's only in the past 5 to 8 years ish, I want to say, that he's started to get some actual serious recognition for his acting abilities. So I'm really happy for him that he's nominated, and I'd love for him to win. So who I think is going to win, obviously I think the toss-up has been between Austin Butler and Brendan Fraser. Austin Butler's won. He won the Golden Globes. He won the BAFTAs, but Brendan Fraser won the SAG, which is that kind of surprised me. But that's the big one, right? Like the actors are the biggest voting body in the Academy. So I'm a bit tossed up, but I'm gonna go with my boy Elvis, and I'm gonna go with Austin Butler as the person.
Interesting.
I think that's gonna win. Yeah, I'm gonna take him over Brendan Fraser.
So I'm in a similar boat for who I want to win, and I also pick Colin Farrell. And to sort of go back to your point of the last 5 to 8 years, maybe he's finally getting the recognition. I think it all sort of goes back to him hooking up with Yorgos Lanthimos,
yes.
and those 2 movies that he did, I think really turned the tide for a lot of people being like, hey, Colin Farrell's really good. Has he always been this good? And then, you're going back and be like, shit, yeah, he's always been this good.
I mean, minus maybe Alexander, but I think even he has bragged on Alexander a lot. So
yeah, that more has to do with Ridley Scott.
Yeah, it's bad casting. Now, to be fair, have you ever seen? Sorry, this is a sidetrack, but have you seen him on? He goes on Graham Norton like a decent amount over in the UK, and they were talking about Alexander, and he was like, "Yeah, I know. Maybe I shouldn't have been blonde, and maybe I shouldn't have had an Irish accent, but who's to say?" I'm like, that's funny.
But they paid me a lot, so I don't really care.
Yeah, he's like, and just like the hundreds or so reviews that I read, this is just what they were saying. Poor guy.
But much like you, this really was the year of Farrell, and giving away a little bit of my thought process for our article that we're going to have coming out, I seriously considered putting his name down 3 times. He was in serious contention for having 2 of the best actor spots and 1 best supporting actor spot. That's how good of a year he has had.
I actually think I might have done that.
I know you definitely did 2. I don't know if you did all 3. I don't think you did the Batman.
Well, that would have been for supporting though, right?
Yes, you did. You included. Oh wait, no, you just did After Yang. You didn't do Banshees.
Did I not?
I don't know. We're spoiling stuff that isn't even out yet. We're not done writing it. Some things might change. Back to, I really want Colin Farrell to win. I really, I'm meh overall on Banshees of Inisherin, but the performances, specifically his, absolutely adored it. Now, on the flip side of who I think will win, I agree. At first it seemed like it was a 2-horse race between Fraser and Farrell, and then Farrell seemingly fell off, and I don't really know how or why, and Butler has really risen up, so now it's a 2-horse race between Fraser and Butler. But you'll notice I kind of said one name twice there, and that's Brendan Fraser. He seems to have been the constant. He was the favorite as soon as the film premiered. He's been the favorite all the way through. He's won a lot of the awards. Yes, Butler has been winning a lot recently, but overall, I'm thinking it's going to be Fraser, because also the Academy loves a good story, and I think between the 2 of them, he's got the better story. It's his comeback, and I think he's probably going to win it. Am I super confident? No, but that's what I'm going to go with.
I think, like you say, it's like a comeback story, but it's like it's more than just like, oh, he. I mean, not to disparage people who deal with addiction issues, but it's not like Robert Downey Jr. or something like that. Like the reason he went away is a very topical reason as well. Like that, it's actually kind of interesting. It's incredibly topical. And also, he just seems like a really nice guy, and everybody really likes him. I say seems like I did meet him. No big deal. I did meet him.
You did, yes, you did.
But it's very clear that he's very, very well beloved across Hollywood, and people are just so happy to see him back. And we can say the same thing for the Best Supporting Actor frontrunner Ke Kwan, where they're just like, people are just really happy for them. And one thing I'll say with Austin Butler, and again, this is not the way that awards should ever be picked, but he is young, and this is his first big breakthrough out of the gate. Not out of the gate. He's done a lot of Disney stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
So I know
Other
that he's
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too.
Right, yeah. So I know he is very well known to like a specific fan base, but I would say to mainstream audiences, if that's a thing, like I think this is Butler's kind of first big. This is the first thing I've actually ever seen him in, because I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's more riding off of Elvis, to be honest. And I will say, this is just the difference between maybe it's an A24 thing, because they're not. They're
terrible campaigners.
Well, they've been focusing all their efforts on Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's where all their budget is going. And this is probably a lot to do with the fact that I just see a lot of Elvis stuff recently. But those guys have been going hard with the campaigning, like really, really hard. They just announced today that they're releasing HBO Max in the States now has all of the Elvis movies that they can possibly release. Like they've put them all out, so they're really riding off not just Austin Butler, but like the legacy that is Elvis Presley. So
yeah.
I don't know, like, and Matthew Simpson at Awesome Friday, he was saying, anytime that somebody portrays like a dead rock star or like a dead legend, especially an American legend, it's very helpful. Yeah. But I honestly, I don't think either of us, like, it's going to be one of them, right? Like, it's going to be one of them. Unless for some reason Paul Mescal just pulls it out, which would be hilarious. But like, yeah, it's either Butler or Fraser. It's one of the two. So I don't think either of us can really go wrong there.
Yeah, exactly. It really does seem like a bit of a coin flip at this time. All right, let's move on.
And in a way, it's good, I think, that we both picked one or the other rather than like
one of us will have to be right.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on now to Best Actress. And we've got Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. It's going to be no surprise for people that have maybe been listening along these last few weeks or things like that. I am all aboard the Tar hype train. I want Cate Blanchett to win, and I think she's going to do it. I think she's going to get her third Oscar, and I know this is going to make a lot of people really upset. But for some reason, I just have this weird gut feeling that Cate Blanchett is going to pull it out. And that is nothing to take away from Michelle Yeoh in her incredible performance. And I will be incredibly happy if she wins as well. In fact, if they could do a tie, I'd be very happy. But that's not going to happen. And so I think Blanchett might get it, even though Michelle Yeoh is very overdue for an Oscar, which I know we always hate when we say things like that. But Michelle Yeoh is really overdue for an Oscar. She's really good. She's had an incredible career. But Blanchett, I'm so on board with this performance. I absolutely adored it. And I know you're the complete opposite, and you're gonna completely trash whatever I said here when I finish talking. So I'm trying to delay that as much as I can.
I just didn't click with it. Like I don't know why. And there's like a couple movies. There's which other movie am I thinking of? Women Talking, which I actually yeah. Those are two movies that I just didn't click with. And After Sun to an extent as well. I just didn't kind of get with it either. Although After Sun, I've heard people say to me, it's like, if you connect with it, it's probably because something like bad happened in your childhood. Like you've had a bit of a, like maybe something with your, particularly I know people who have who've lost their dads for whatever reason. After Sun definitely hits in a very, very different way. So,
or maybe if you're currently suffering from depression or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, who isn't? Like we're all a little bit depressed these days, aren't we? No, but so Tar's just one of those movies that I just didn't click with. And I will say, obviously, I am backing Michelle Yeoh in that. That's who I want to win because I have loved her since I was a child, and it would be amazing. I would love to see her actually get up there and win these awards. She's a very well awarded actress, generally speaking, but yeah, I think it's cool. Like, I think it would be good. This is such a great role for her, something that she's really never done before. And I would love to see her win. That being said, I'm actually with you. I think Cate Blanchett's going to win. It's more or less my, like, no faith in the Academy kind of thing. But I just think I think it's too weird for them in a way. Like, I just think it's just not... I don't know. It's actually, can you clarify something for me? For the acting nominations, is it only the actors branch that does this, or is it everybody?
I wish I could remember. I used to know all the ins and outs. I know for voting, it's only the acting branch, but I can't remember the final.
Yeah,
voting.
Because if that's the case, then I mean, like, there's a lot of overlap with SAG and the actors branch here. So I mean, like, technically speaking, it could be Michelle Yeoh then, but I think that if there's other people who are voting in this category, then I do, like, in my heart of hearts, I actually do think it's going to be clean. I'm going to change it. I'm going to back Michelle Yeoh for everything. I'm going to say she's the one who's going to win, and that's the one I want to win. I'll split the difference with you, just like we did for Best Actor. But I would like to footnote, I do think it's going to be Cate Blanchett. I just think, like, there's just something in there. I just think that she's going to be the one who wins, and I think that it's going to cause a really bad problem online. Like, people are just gonna be really pissed off about it. But yeah, but you know what, I'm gonna ride with Michelle for both, and I'm gonna say she's gonna win it, and that's obviously who I would like to win.
The only thing that'll make the internet more mad is if Jamie Lee Curtis wins supporting actress.
No, you know what? Imagine Anna de Armas wins for Best Actress.
Yeah, you know, that'll probably piss off a lot of people too.
Or Andrea Riseborough would make people pretty upset too, actually.
I think people will more be baffled than angry.
Potentially, but given, like, all the all the controversy with, like, why isn't Viola Davis or Danielle Deadwyler in here, like, and it's a silly logic that people are being like, Andrea Riseborough took their spot, which is not how it works, but, you know, that's just how people kind of think, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Michelle for both, but I do think you're probably have better odds with Cate Blanchett.
Okay. Moving on to Best Supporting Actor, and we've got Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ki Hoi Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is going to be actually, you know, I'm going to start with you. What is your want to win, think will win?
I'm going with Ki Hoi Kwan for both. Again, great story, similar to Brendan Fraser. It's just a really nice story, and then his is I don't want to say more personal to me, but just in the sense of, like, one of the reasons that he stopped acting back in the early 90s was because he couldn't get roles that he wanted to do, because they just kept wanting to kind of put him in very kind of typical Asian man, Asian boy roles. And so he stepped away from acting for such a long time, and it wasn't until Crazy Rich Asians rolled around that he kind of realized there was a bit of a change in the industry and that maybe he had a spot in it again. So him coming back, doing Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's just, like, what a story that is. What a great story. And he's, again, so excited. You can see him all over socials. If you don't follow him on Instagram, he's a great follow on Instagram. And he takes so many selfies with everybody, and he's very, very fun. And I think he's going to win. Like, he's basically, with the exception of the BAFTAs, he has pretty much taken every single Best Supporting Actor award that there is to take. So I'm going to go with him for the one that I want to win, also the one that I think is going to win.
Okay, cool. I think it's going to be a bit of a repetitive thing for me throughout the night of this recording. Is my wants and thinks are overlapping a little bit, and I think that's sort of where maybe my personal biases are probably going to start showing up. But I, too, both want and think Kwan will win. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. He's dominated this entire race. It hasn't even been close. It's been a bloodbath for literally everyone else in his wake. He's taken everyone down, and
it's so
all
violent.
with an adorable smile.
He's so violent about this. Like...
Oh, he's so violent. He wants.
It's such a bloodbath. Like...
He's just murdering left, right, and center, kicking puppies, you know.
That's when John Wick comes in. That's the crossover that we need.
John Wick stands no chance against Ki Hoi Kwan.
I mean, I would pay to see. Wouldn't you want to see that? That would be amazing.
Waymond will kick his ass.
Come on. Oh, John Wick, God, you can't do this to me. I can't. It's early for me. I can't comprehend that.
This is probably going to be the easiest one to predict of the night, and also I think it's going to just be the sort of cherry on top of a very pleasant campaign from him that I think everyone's sort of been coalescing around him and rooting for him the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Best Supporting Actress. And we have got Angela Bassett for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu also for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like I said last time, there's going to be a lot of repetition from me. I both want and think Carrie Condon to win, will win. And I just really adored her performance in Banshees. Like I was saying with the Colin Farrell stuff, movie I wasn't crazy about, but I loved all the performances. We were just praising Barry Keoghan a moment before, same sort of deal. I really liked her, and I think Hong Chow would probably be my number 2. What an incredible year for her as well, between The Whale and The Menu, where she's really popping off and being like, got some real good edge and sass to her that I really like. But yeah, I'm going Carrie Condon, and maybe that's a little controversial. I don't know. I think this category is wide open. I know Angela Bassett has been winning some awards, but not really the ones that are true predictors. So as far as quantity goes, Bassett's probably got the most, but as far as, I'm not saying that others are more quality than others, but the ones that are more predictive have been split between Carrie Condon and the 2 Everything Everywhere ladies. So I don't really know exactly how it's going to go. It sort of seems like a 4-horse race there. So I'm just, going to blindly throw a dart at Carrie Condon. You?
That just dawned on me that Angela Bassett did not win the SAG. I just realized that.
Yep. Which was a big blow to her.
Yeah, that is a very momentum. Big blow. I'm still going to go with Angela Bassett for winning, though. I actually think this is going to be the first, what do they want to call it? Like above the line, quote unquote, above the line Marvel win. Yeah, I think that it's going to be for her. I just think it's Angela Bassett. Like she's great. I mean, the movie itself.
Speaking of someone who's due.
Yeah, I mean, but she has. I want to say she's won. I think we talked about this before. Has she won before? But like, she's definitely been nominated before. But I think she's got it. Like, I actually do think it's going to be Angela Bassett to win. My pick for who I want to win, though, I'm going with you, and I'm going to say Carrie Condon. I just really love her performance in that. And as much as I love Stephanie Hsu in Everything Everywhere at Once, I was so happy when she was nominated. Because I think that she has been the oddest blind spot for this category throughout all of this award season. And I'm glad that she got the quote unquote, like the big one, like the kind of the crown jewel of all of the awards for the West, I suppose. But I will say I really love Carrie Condon's performance. I think she's just incredible in that movie. But I'm going to stick with Angela. I'm going to go with Angela Bassett.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like that we're on the agreement there of Carrie Condon.
Yeah. We're agreeing a lot, I think, in this.
We are.
This is
I
good.
know, it's weird.
It's good. It's good. It's like a new thing for us.
All right. Let's move on to Best Original Score. We've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans. I started that one. Yes. So let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this category?
I'm going to say you and I are the same again. I'm going to say that both of us picked Babylon, Justin Hurwitz, as the one that we want to win and the one that we think is going to win. And I think we're correct. I think that we're correct. Because I love his score is, I know that a lot of people have been very, very divided about Babylon, but like the one thing that I think everyone can agree on is this music is pretty amazing. And his score is great. And I remember when I got access to the score, I was just playing it over and over and over and over again. Like, it's so good. And I've heard some criticisms of it being like it's not accurate to the time. Like, it's not exactly the type of jazz. But the thing that I kind of find it funny about that is like, I'm not to talk about Elvis all the time, but like Elvis, Baz is known to do this, like to take the the music of Elvis. It's not surprising that he took the music of Elvis, remixed it with modern sounds and beats and artists. But then I thought he was only going to use it for the soundtrack, but then he actually puts it in the movie. So I'm like, if you're going to go after Justin Hurwitz for the Babylon thing, then like, let's talk about Elvis a little bit here. Cause that obviously, you know, not period correct either, was it? But nobody's really saying anything about that. But yeah, I think Babylon, that's just an amazing, good. Justin Hurwitz is one talented musician. Like it's incredible. Him and Damien Chazelle have such a great partnership, and I hope that they continue to just do every single movie together. And I'd love to see Justin Hurwitz work with other directors as well. Like I know he obviously works beyond Damien Chazelle, but like, I think he's going to be, when his career is all said and done, he'll be one of the, you know, the John Williams, the Hans Zimmers, the, who's the other one? Who's the other guy? The one that did
not Sergio Leone.
I'm thinking the Titanic one. Who did Titanic?
Oh, Howard Shore.
It wasn't Howard Shore. That's a good pick though.
Was it not?
No, it's like, it starts with a J. It's another John or something like that. But anyways, the point is, I think Justin Hurwitz, when his career's done, he will be considered one of the best like movie composers, especially for the current crop of people like him and Johansson. I think like, or not Johansson, sorry, Gorgonson, something like that. And then Hilda. I think those three are like incredible. And like movie scores right now, I think they're at like a really nice peak, like another peak. Cause I think that we're in a really good age of movie scores. And I think Justin Hurwitz is one of the best to do it. I will say I do love All Quiet's score as well. I think that is a very good score.
So to fill in some gaps of things that you were saying, you're talking about James Horner, who did the Titanic score.
Thank you.
One of the other modern up-and-comers that's really cementing himself is Ludwig Göransson.
I was so close with that one.
You were, yes. And then Hildur, I'm not even going to try to say her last name. Another name I would throw in there is Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Oh,
They've obviously a little bit older than some of these other names that we're saying, but their scores, you know, I thought at first it was like, oh, their work with Fincher, can they, you know, replicate the success outside of his milieu? And they keep crushing it and crushing it. And I sort of see Hurwitz in a sort of a similar vein as what the two of them are doing, and being like, I want to see what else you're doing with other people. Yeah.
I mean, again, love what him and Chazelle are doing. I think like, and I like that they're like old school friends too. I think that's a cool thing. Like it's a nice little story. And maybe one day somebody will make a Babylon type movie about their relationship. Who knows? Ooh. Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I want to think Babylon is going to win as well, because you're so right. Where everyone, regardless of what you think of the movie, people will come out and be like, man, I love that movie. I don't know what people were wrong about it. And that score was incredible. And then there's people who are like, oof, that movie was a bloated mess, but that score was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's true. And it went, everything about it, like the more that, even though Babylon's such a long movie, I found, and like when I came out of it, I was kind of lukewarm on it, but I've watched it, I think 3 times now. Like I've just had it on. Like I'm not, to be fair, I'm not like focusing on it for every single minute, but like I'll put it on, and then the marriage between the score and the direction, again, it just goes back to Damien and Justin, if I may, Damien and Justin, the two of them just hanging out. But it goes back to their relationship, and like I think just their chemistry. I think like they're so in sync with each other, and I think it's incredible. And the more you watch it, which I can't really recommend people rewatch Babylon all the time because it's a very long movie, but the more you watch it, the more you pick up just like little music cues that just go so perfectly with what's happening on the screen. It's incredible. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Best Original Song. We've got Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Not To from RRR, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's really been shaping up. You know, there was a big push for RRR to be nominated in a bunch of different categories at the Oscars, and unfortunately missed out on everything. It wasn't submitted by India for the Best International Film category, but it did manage to crack through with Not To. And I'm really excited to see the performance at the Oscars, because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's
going to be good.
And they've talked about how their goal is to get the people in the audience to also do the dance.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah. But I both want and think that RR is going to win. This is kind of a weak category overall. Yeah, maybe Rihanna will pull out a surprise win for Black Panther. But there really isn't a lot of strong choices this year. And RR has what's going to go down as one of the all-time classic movie songs and will win.
Is that who you want to win as well?
It is.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you. I think Natu Natu is going to win. I think that's just kind of, it's just captured the imagination, hasn't it? That song and like that movie. Mm-hmm. And I also think there's a nice redemption for Bollywood movies because for a long time people used to make fun of it for like all the dancing and all the singing all the time, and now it's like, oh, now you guys like it because it's good. Like if you actually just took a second, you'd realize the songs are actually pretty sweet. I'm actually gonna go with the one that I would like to win, and I know it 100% won't win, but I actually really think "Hold My Hand" with Gaga. The reason I'm picking it is the one that I like the best of these 5 songs. I just think it goes really, really well with Top Gun Maverick. Like, it kind of surprises me how well the song goes with the movie. And I don't know why it's just stuck in my head. I'm not a huge Gaga fan, but I find that the two of them just kind of coalesce really, really nicely. But I'm very happy to see Natu Natu win, and I do think it is going to win.
Moving on to Best Sound, we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun Maverick. Actually, let's start with you. I went last time. So what are your thoughts on this category?
I think all of those choices are actually really good. Like, I actually think the entire category is decent. I think Avatar might be the one that I'm like, eh. I really wanted to see the menu on Best Sound. I've been really pushing for the menu for Best Sound. I think that it's just like when they started, I never really understood the difference between the two separate sound categories. So when you put it together, I just think of the movies that had the greatest like soundscapes. And I can completely see where All Quiet, obviously being a war movie, The Batman has incredible sound as well, being so high octane. Elvis, for obvious reasons. And then Top Gun kind of lives in a similar boat as The Batman. My one that I think that I would like to see win is All Quiet, just because I really love that movie. And I do think the sound in that is pretty incredible. I actually think Top Gun Maverick is going to take this one. And I think the reason I'm going to say that one is because I don't think it's going to win in really any other category. And I think that this is one that people can really latch onto. And like, because I think that they want to award it something, like I think that it's a movie that has kind of, it did a lot last year. I mean, to quote Steven Spielberg, it saved cinema. And so I think I'm going to go with Top Gun to win, but All Quiet would have been my choice.
Okay. I'm actually want Elvis to win, interestingly enough.
Why do you say it like so, like, I want Elvis to win? Why do you say it like that? It's Elvis.
No, this is me trying to curry favor in your good books there, Rachel.
I don't even like the movie that much. That's kind of the funny thing about it.
The movie is a bit of a bloated mess, but I really like the musical sequences, and I think they do a really great job of making you feel like you're in the audience during some of his live performances. They do such a good job with the music in that movie, and that's one of the few things they get right. And I think that's something that a lot of people can, as much as you hate biopics or things like that, you can at least be like, well, the musical sequences were actually really entertaining. And that's more than you can say of something like Bohemian Rhapsody or some of the other movies where it's like, come on, if you're going to do a biopic about a singer or a band, you got to nail the music down. You really got to do that. And Elvis, I think, really did.
So that's like an interesting thing, though, of like considering what do we think of with that category with Best Sound? I know this is such a technical category and people don't really care about it that much, but like when you're considering what is the best sound, so if you look at All Quiet, Avatar, Batman, Top Gun, those obviously aren't musicals. Like they don't have music to them. So you're just looking at the sound of, literally the sound of the movie, right? Whereas Elvis is... You're considering the music of the movie, which to me is a different thing. Like to me, that would almost kind of go in line with more score. And I know that they don't have like a best music because score is that, whereas Elvis falls into a kind of a weird category where it's not a score necessarily. But yeah, like do you know what I mean though? Like just kind of considering what how do you decide what is the best sound for these 5 movies? It's to me, it's really interesting just because Elvis stands out as one that is unlike the other 4.
Yeah, you're kind of touching before about how there used to be 2 categories, and I can't remember which one is which one is editing and which one is mixing, but it basically breaks down to, one is how do the natural sounds that we hear that we should be hearing happening sound, and how do the artificial sounds sound.
I got you. Okay.
And so those are the 2 differences of the category. So the natural would be dialogue, dubbing, someone walking down a hallway, things like that where you expect to hear it. So in the war movies, the guns that are going off, that you are expecting that to be real, versus the edited sounds of layering and things like that, and everything that's going on. So it's really tough. And now that there is only one category, it's a little harder to be like, well, it's sort of like, what do you value most? And I sort of think that's sort of similar to how one would vote for maybe something like best visual effects as well. Which we'll get to later. But you're right. This is actually a very strong category. Normally, this is kind of like a, crap, I got to watch some of these movies. But overall, I'm very happy with it. Elvis, I want to win. But with you, I think Top Gun is going to win. And I agree, this might be its only award of the night. And I don't think this movie's going home empty-handed.
Yeah, I think it's just got too much love, doesn't it? It's just people just really... Which, again, we keep talking about, this is not the way to vote for awards. Like, that's not how it should be done. Like, it should just be, of these 5 movies, which one did it the best? But you can't help but bring in, side stories, backstories, comeback stories, all that kind of stuff. Like, and you can't. And Top Gun is probably one of the best cinema stories of last year, I would say.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Best Production Design. And the nominees that we have for this category are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. And sort of to say the opposite of Best Sound, where I thought all of the nominees were very strong, here I would say they're all, for the most part,
they're okay.
Like, maybe it was just a weaker year for production design in movies or what, but I look at this crop and I'm like, yeah, there's some good ones, and the one that I want to win is Babylon, which I think did a pretty good job. And I know I got some pushback talking about All Quiet on the Western Front, and I'm like, yeah, it was just some trenches. Obviously, they did a really good job with the trenches and the other stuff, but like, I don't know. I want a bit more from my best production design Oscar nominees and winners. And like Avatar: The Way of Water, I don't know what was real, what was CGI. Same goes with Elvis. Yeah. And as Jeff famously said about The Fabelmans, congrats, you made a high school.
So that's so reductive of what Steven Spielberg
it very much
did. Okay, so sorry, so you want Babylon?
And I think, and
you think Babylon's also going to win? Okay,
yes. Which is what I like. I hesitate for a second because I'm like, yeah, but like this movie did so poorly, and the Oscars rarely reward movies that do this poorly.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to go down textbooks as a flop of epic proportions, box office wise,
and critically.
And critically, it was very mixed. I wouldn't say it was like across the board flop critically, but like more than not, there was a lot of hatred and vitriol for this movie. And the Oscars, are very reticent to give more than one award to a movie that performs so poorly. And so we've already got it down for score. Is it also going to win production design? I don't know, but I'm going with it. What about you? What are your thoughts?
So Babylon is the one that I want to win. I agree with you. I'm not as flippant about what happened on The Fabelmans or All Quiet. Like, I think that, The Fabelmans, to me, it actually, they do a great job of just fine. It's just a high school, if you want to put it that way. But like, it's a high school from, when's the movie set? Back in the 50s?
Early 60s, late 50s, early 60s. Yeah.
And it feels like that. Like, it definitely has that feel. And maybe that's because high schools in America haven't changed that much. I don't know. We didn't go to high school in the States. We don't know this. But like, it just felt like it. And I think that like a lot of the thing with The Fabelmans of capturing the time period, it's obviously Steven Spielberg being a genius, but it's all in the production design as well. So I think that they did a really good job with that. I like Babylon because I just like the details of it. I think it just looks stunning. I liked Damien Chazelle. You could say a lot of things about him, but I think he's very meticulous about details and about like bringing to life the different worlds that he's trying to create, whether it's in even First Man, which is, I know probably, well, actually now I don't know, maybe Babylon's the one that's considered quote unquote the worst of his portfolio, if you will. But I think for a while it was Best Man. But even Best Man, I think that had excellent production design.
First Man, not Best Man.
Did I say Best Man? Sorry, First Man. It's funny. I'm working on something else, and there's a movie called The Best Man that I was just writing about. So that's in my head.
Something on your mind. A little Freudian slip.
Yeah. All Quiet, I would say I'm going to defend my favorite movie, All Quiet, of the year, because yes, maybe it's just quote unquote just trenches, as Dakota or Snow is saying. But to me, like, it was never really about it's not like Saving Private Ryan, where I don't think that the point of the movie was the spectacle. And in which case I would say, why was it nominated for Best Production Design? But I do think they did a good job. But I'm going to go with Elvis to win, because they rebuilt a lot of sets across, like, so they filmed this in Australia, as most people know. And they rebuilt Beale Street. They rebuilt Graceland. Like, they rebuilt Memphis in a sound studio. And they did a pretty good job of it, I think. And again, like, I think they've done a great job with the campaigning of showing these behind the scenes clips of the different sets that they've built and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that they're going to win. And I actually think that they've won most of the production design, like most of the technical stuff. Elvis has won. Avatar is such a funny one in this, though, isn't it? Like, it's such an odd inclusion in this, because what does that mean? That they
what's real?
But like, what is it? The whole point of Avatar is that it's motion capture computer. Like, that's kind of the deal with it. So why is it under Best Production Design? I don't get that. Like, I actually really don't understand their inclusion in this category, or for cinematography, but we can get there.
Yeah. Okay. Let us move on to that exact category, and that is Best Cinematography. And the nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. So, Rachel, you ended us off. Let's start it off with you again.
So, obviously, my bad. Avatar did not make it into cinematography. Thank God.
No, they did not.
But I'm going to go with another overlap. I'm going to say All Quiet is going to win, and All Quiet is the one that I think is the one that I want to win. This was a terrible category. Like, I think of all the categories in the entire awards, I think this was the worst one. This was the one that was just so head scratching. Like, Empire of Light, I know Roger Deakins is Roger Deakins. I get that. But this was probably some of his not greatest work. I think we can all agree on that. Bardo is fine. Like, it looks great and all that kind of stuff. And I think this is its only nomination, really. But, yeah, this category to me was just a hot mess, because I think that Top Gun should have been in there, but I'm reminded now that we weren't going to do snubs. But yeah, I'm going to go with All Quiet for both. It's the one that I want to win, also the one that I think is going to win.
Yeah. And I'll say, once again, minor spoiler preview for our article. Both of us came up with far superior lists for the cinematography category. Absolutely. And obviously, both of us kind of included a couple picks that were never really in contention. But yeah, something like Top Gun. Why the hell wasn't that there? That's like, weird. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. This is a weird category. And it seems like half the nominees are there because of merit, and the other half are there because of name recognition of the cinematographers.
Yeah, which, I mean, again, like, there were better options out there, so I just don't... 100%. Empire of Light is the one that I find I know it's Roger Deakins, but it's just... It's not good Deakins. And I never thought I would say that. Like, I never thought there was such a thing as not good Deakins, but it's like...
I liked it. His cinematography was fine, but there wasn't anything spectacular.
But you could have told me anybody else, like some no-name person did that, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's good for them. Well done. Yeah. But when I think of Roger Deakins, like, I do put, like, I have a higher standard for Roger Deakins because he has created that standard for himself. And so when I watch Empire of Light, it's almost like he was just bored, and he was just like, let's just get this done and over with. He's like, I just didn't want to be here. And I'm like, that's such a shame to me. But yeah, this category was just a mess. But go All Quiet. Go James Friend. He's good.
My answers are very similar to you. It's a clean sweep across the board for both of us. All Quiet is what I want to win, and that's who I think will win as well. It was pretty incredible cinematography. Mm-hmm. I know I was being very dismissive of the production design earlier, and I think that's not fair, because I do think that there was some really incredible production design in that movie. Mm-hmm. That I was just doing a bit of a bit there. But the cinematography is incredible, and they did such a good job with it. And maybe if this category was stronger, I don't know if I'd pick it. It's going to be in my top 5 for the year, but it's not my number 1 of the year. So it says a lot about this category as a whole. But yeah, All Quiet, very strong, and hopefully it wins. And because it seems to be doing quite well across some of the other awards, where it's maybe more of a player for its nominations than I think people are maybe giving it credit for.
It's funny. I mean, maybe it's because it's a quote unquote international movie. Like it's just not an American one. So maybe that's why people are, I hate saying this, but like sleeping on it. But yeah, it's one. I was really, really impressed with how well it did in the nominations, because I didn't think it was going to do that well. But it is one that, I mean, I loved it when it first came out. I think it's just an incredible movie. But yeah, I think it will. I think I agree with you. I think it'll do better than people are expecting it to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on to hair and makeup. And the nominees for this category are All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. So this is this is an interesting category where, much like sound, the movies are actually all pretty decent for the most part in this group. That said, I want Elvis to win this category, and the reason why is this is makeup and hairstyling. This isn't just makeup. It includes both of them. And until they split them up, which, honestly, I'd probably be fine if they split up the category, because they are very different departments that are done. And the reason why I'm saying this is Elvis, both Austin Butler and Tom Hanks, those are the two main characters in this. They both feature prosthetic work and hair work as well that are both pretty incredible. But that said, I also really appreciate in this category where, sometimes we say more, less is more. I sort of disagree with this category. I want to see more. I want to see the entire background, all the supporting characters, the extras, all those people to also fit in with the hair and makeup designs of the leads. So it's not just two people that get all the love and then everyone else is like, and then they're in the background. No, I thought they did a really good job of capturing this era of late 50s, early 60s America, going into the later 60s as well, into the early 70s, and showing just how hair was changing in that time period. And you see different generations of people too. So I think they did a really good job of capturing all of that. And then, of course, the very subtle prosthetic work that they did on Austin Butler to make him look more Elvis-like. Obviously, we know the prosthetic work that Tom Hanks wears in this because we know what he looks like and stuff like that. But Austin Butler, was a very subtle adjustment to him. And I think they did a really good job of not overdoing it, but getting it just right. So he still looked like himself, but he also looked like Elvis. That said, I think The Whale is going to win because that is the main talking point over their entire campaign of like, look at the prosthetic work we did for Brendan Fraser. And so much so they showcase it where there are multiple scenes where his character's in various states of undress. So you get to see the full prosthetic suit on his body. So it's like, hey, look at all the work we did. This isn't what Brendan Fraser actually looks like. So I really think that this is probably going to win, although I'm feeling maybe a little bit less confident as the days go on. What about you, Rachel?
So I think Elvis is going to win. I think that, how do I put this? I think that there's just been a lot of love for all the reasons that you just said, for bringing people back in that time period. It's about Elvis, so I can talk about Elvis. It's not easy to make a man look like Elvis Presley. Like, let's be honest now. And I don't actually think Austin looks anything like Elvis Presley. And I think that they did a good enough job to get him to be recognizable as Elvis without being like one of those Elvis imitators, which is a very fine line that I'm sure that the makeup people have to and the hairstyling people have to consider is like, you don't want it just to look like he's one of those random imitators that's, you know, the hundreds and thousands of them around the world. And I like that they did like little bit of very light prosthetics on Austin Butler, just to kind of shape the face and jaw, especially as he was getting older. And obviously the Tom Hanks, he like, that was pretty incredible as well. And all the background people, I think that they did a really, really great job of putting it all together. So I do think that they're going to win. Personally, though, I don't know. It's just one thing, and it's unfair to mark one tiny little thing against this team who has done an incredible job. I really hated his tan in that movie. I just thought it looked so... I know Elvis was like super tanned at some points in his career, but I just looked at Austin. I just wanted to like wipe his face because I'm just like, it just doesn't look good. Like I've seen people tan up like with makeup, and that is a bad job of it. Like if I saw someone like that walking down the street, I'd be like, that is not a good tan job that you just did for yourself. Like, chill out on the bronzer a little. So my personal pick for who I want to win is the Batman, because I just think they did a great job. Obviously, Colin Farrell's Penguin is the focal point of the makeup and hairstyling thing with the prosthetic work, and also I'm sorry, I don't think we're supposed to call it fat suits anymore, but the body stuff, is that also considered prosthetics, even though it's just like a suit they wear?
That's considered makeup prosthetics. Yeah.
So yeah, I just think the Batman does such a great job, not just with her, but I think Zoe Kravitz looks amazing throughout. Like they really great job with her, and even with Pattinson, with all the kind of the emo style Batman that they did for him. I think the Batman does such a great job, and I would love for them to win, but I do think Elvis is going to take it.
It's even something as simple as the fact that for the first time in a Batman movie, when he takes the cowl off, you still see the eye black.
Yeah.
Whereas like every other movie has tried to hide, being like, no, we're not really painting his eyes black. Look at that.
Bruce Wayne doesn't wear eye makeup. Like, that would be silly. It would be silly.
And so I really like that they keep the eye black on Bruce Wayne when he has the cowl off, because it looks so cool and adds a lot to it. And especially since it really looks like he's just like sort of smearing it on and letting it get smudged from when he's all sweaty and stuff like that, and it looks really cool. So I'm all for the Batman winning this as well, because they did a really good job too.
Yeah, but I'm going with Elvis. I think I really do think Elvis is going to have a very, very good night at the Academy Awards.
Interesting. So. Yeah. Okay. Let us move on to costume design. We've got Babylon, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Rachel, what are your picks?
It's a broken record for me. I'm going with Elvis again. I think that they're going to win costume design. For much of the same reasons you said about the hair and makeup, I think you can apply the exact same thing to the costume design. And, you know, I think if there's anything that Elvis is really known for beyond being perpetually tanned and just shoe polish black hair, is his dress sense. And they do such a good job of bringing the little details of the outfits that he wore, you know, and the cool thing I think is like when he's on Ed Sullivan, things like that, because like we didn't see it in color, obviously, like the footage is in black and white, so it's really neat to see it in color. That's nothing to do with costume design. I just think it's kind of cool. But yeah, I think they did an incredible job with the costumes. So I think Elvis is going to win. My personal pick for the one that I would like to see win is Babylon. I just, again, the details that they put into that movie for that time period are incredible. And I suppose much of the same reasons that I think Elvis is going to win is why I love Babylon. I just think they did an amazing, amazing job bringing the 20s to life via costume design. Because it wasn't really so much the hair and makeup of that time period. Really, it's more the costumes that really puts you into the era. And I think that they did an incredible job.
Do you have any favorite costumes from Babylon?
I love Margot Robbie's red dress. And I know that's a really obvious
from
one,
the beginning,
but it's just incredible. Like, and it obviously helps that she's like, looks incredible in it. But I just love like the design of it. It just kind of looks like, it sounds really bad. It sounds really flippant almost, but it just looks like kind of a red rag that just kind of like wraps around her really nicely. But it's so effortless. And like, cause considering that she's meant to be, like poor at the beginning of the film, it's such a great costume to put on her, where it looks sexy. It looks kind of not glamorous, I wouldn't say, but like there's a hint of glam to it. It's very stylish, but it is just so simple because she obviously couldn't afford anything glitzy or glamorous. So she kind of does what she can with what she has. And but I think Babylon's costume design's perfect.
Nice. Well, I am echoing your sentiments that I think Elvis is going to win. This is a case of more is more. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different styles in this. We travel through time. We see the early, his early country era, and so everyone wearing the nice fringe shirts and stuff like that, and the cowboy hats. And then when he slowly, we get his military stuff, and then he slowly finds his own style, and eventually we get to the jumpsuits, and then we're contrasting his, is he out of style look to like the hippies and the younger generation, the kids and what they're all wearing and all that sort of stuff. And because of that, I also want Elvis to win. Maybe I'm also a little more gung-ho on this movie than I thought I was. Maybe you've convinced me. I don't know. Maybe I'll be saying Elvis for Best Picture at the end of this. I don't know.
I think we like the movie in theory. I think like in theory we like it. But am I correct in saying you are like me in that we're just not big fans of Baz?
Yeah, I think that's very true. The only movie of his I would say I actually like is Strictly Ballroom.
I've never seen that. That's interesting. Maybe I'll watch it.
It was his very first one, yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind Romeo and Juliet, and then after that, everything is very diminishing results.
I think that you and I think in theory we like the idea of the movie. I think if you're not into Baz's style, which I'm very much so not, it's just not a movie that works for you because it is very much so a Baz Luhrmann movie. And credit to him, like I appreciate a director that has his or her own style and sticks to it. You know what I mean? Like even he knows not everybody likes it, but he does it. And you're saying, more is more with Elvis, just in terms of the man and his career. I think that Baz Luhrmann is in a way, even though I'm not a fan of him or that movie, Baz Luhrmann's kind of the perfect director for it because you do need someone who is just maximalist to show that career off. So it's a funny movie. It's very like, I like it, but I don't like it. It's weird.
It's almost, I wonder what a Freddie Mercury biopic would look under his hands as well.
Yeah, he'd be another, like, honestly, like any of those Elton John, like all those ones that are just really big, really big, extraordinary things. Baz Luhrmann is the guy that you want for that. It's just unfortunate that I really don't like his style.
Yes.
Like, that's just the thing. But like, I think it's good that you and I can kind of look at it objectively and be like, even though we're not fans of Baz, like we can appreciate what he's doing for the movie and how he is right for it. But yeah.
All right, let's move on to Best Editing. And the nominees for this category are The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. This is a category where I sort of feel like you need to see the person at work. And I don't think anything sort of exemplifies seeing someone work on the screen more so than Everything Everywhere All at Once. Because you literally have multiple different timelines weaving together. Not timelines, but dimensions, however you want to... I guess
multiverses. That's what they call them.
Multiverse, yeah. Timelines more so would refer to like jumping around, like ending, beginning sort of thing. And so with all the multiverse stuff and keeping that contained and understanding everything, and then quite literally having montages of like flipping through hundreds of different scenarios of the different Evelyns and Waymans and everyone else and Deirdre's and all that sort of stuff and what that all looks like. And it looks good. It makes sense. I'm also a big fan of if a movie has good tension, it's because of the editing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tension and pacing are two things that are really controlled by the editor. And I think Everything Everywhere has really good tension and pacing. Pacing is it's a little rough towards the middle and back half of the movie, but that's a little besides the point. But I want and think Everything Everywhere will win this award because this is not only best editing but most editing.
I agree with you. I think that it's the one that I want to win. I think it's the one. It is the one that I want to win.
I'm not very sure of your picks.
I know. It's the one that I want to win. And for everything that you just said, like, I think it's, how can you look at Everything Everywhere All at Once and be like, No, the editing's all right. Like the movie is made by the edit. As much as I love the performances, as much as I love the Daniels direction, it's the editing. Like the editing made that movie what it is, and why it's so. And it's like, especially a movie like that, it's tricky because like you said, the pacing, because so much is happening in that movie, you could really overwhelm it to the point that it loses all of its impact. But they do a really nice job of creating some lulls in it, or I shouldn't say lulls because that's a bit negative, but like creating just quieter moments in it. So yeah, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is my pick for what I would like to win. The movie I think that is going to win is, again, I think it's Elvis. And to be fair, like, they do a great job.
Really? Wow.
I think they do a great job in the editing, and there's different clips that I can see, like when they're blending all the different performances, the Vegas performances together. There's one, and I already brought Matthew up in this, but it's just because him and I have talked about this Elvis movie very extensively, actually. But he brings up a clip of when they're doing It's All Right. And they kind of go back in time of they stitch together the evolution of that song, like starting with Arthur Crudup and him performing it, and little Elvis hearing it, and then him recording it on in Sun Studios, and then on stage. Like it's a pretty incredible feat of editing. But I think that movie, it's tough to blend anyone's career into 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours, something like that. And I think, as much as I do think it was a bloated mess, I do think that the editing kind of is what brings it together to make it a bit positive. But I think it's going to win for editing. I really do think Elvis is going to do well for the technical stuff. Like I think that it has a lot of love for it in that sense.
Okay. Wow. I'm a little shocked at everything you're saying here. I not that I'm disagreeing with you. You're making some excellent points, but I'm just a little surprised. Is all I got to say.
My whole thing with this award show is I think Everything Everywhere at Once, even though it was nominated for the most stuff, I don't think it's actually going to win that much.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas I think Elvis is the one that is probably going to take most of the technical awards, and then the acting is the acting awards. We'll see how those pan out.
All right, let's move on to Best Visual Effects. And we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. So let's start with you, Rachel.
We were kind of shitting on this movie earlier, but I think it's Avatar. I think Avatar wins for Best Visual Effects. I think for very obvious reasons. The whole movie is a visual effect, which is why I don't get why it's in production design. Like, what's it doing in there? But it's the entire movie is a visual effect. I actually pick it as the one that I want to win as well. I'm not a big Avatar fan. Like, I rewatched the first one ahead of The Way of Water, and it's still not great. It's not a great movie. I don't like it. It just, the story sucks, dialogue sucks, and I know that that's not James Cameron's thing, but hire a scripter. Like just hire someone to write your scripts than James Cameron. Like, if you know you're not good at it, just hire someone who's better at it. Because, though, it looks incredible. Like, that's, anybody that was asking me, should I go watch Avatar in theater? I'm like, yeah, go watch it. Because even though the movie is not the greatest in terms of storytelling, I shouldn't say in terms of storytelling, script and dialogue basically are the two biggest issues that I have with that movie. But you can't deny that it looks gorgeous. Like, it's a stunning movie. And considering that it is all done on computer and motion capture and all that stuff, it looks incredible. Like, it really is a feat of, cinematic technology, or however they want to call it. Because I think he's done a really great job. James Cameron's done a really great job with this movie, and it just looks, and I did watch it in 3D. I'm not usually a big 3D person, but I think that he actually uses it properly. Like, I mean, I know 3D was his big thing back when the first Avatar came out. And I don't think any other movie, with the exception of Gravity is one that I think that they did the 3D pretty nicely. But of all the movies I've seen in 3D, nobody uses it in the way that you can tell James Cameron envisions it being used. I think he is, put aside what you think of the man, he is a visionary in terms of visual effects. And so I think he is going to win it. And I do think it is pretty well deserved. I guess it's not him because his name is not listed behind here, but like it is James Cameron's thing though. So yeah.
Yep.
It's going to pain you to say it. I know what you're saying, and I know how much it's hurting you to have to admit that it's going to be Avatar.
Avatar's going to be best visual effects, and I'm going to hate it.
You're going to hate it so much. So we've already spoiled a bit of the article that we're going to come out with. And when I saw Avatar on your list for best visual effects, my first thought was, God, it must have pained Dakota so much to have to type that in, like to have to copy and paste that damn title into the chart. Yep. Like I'm like, he must have hated it so much.
Absolutely. That said, like I hate the movie. As anyone listening to the last episode knows, Kyle and I really just spent 20 plus minutes absolutely shitting on that movie to no end.
It's just so,
I'm sorry. It's so awful. That said, it does look great. The visuals are pretty fantastic. The one thing that's a little tricky is what is real and what isn't. And not that that's going to be the deciding factor of how I feel about this movie, but I'm very curious because I know they filmed in New Zealand and I know they used real water and stuff like that. And this movie's nominated for production design. So how much of the sets were built, how much of it was CGI, all that sort of stuff I'm very confused by for this movie. And it's making me spend brain energy thinking about this friggin' thing, and I don't want to be spending this brain energy thinking about this movie.
Okay, here the two things I'll say about that. Number one, when people, like I said, people ask me, should I go watch this movie? I very rarely tell people to spend their money and time on a movie that I think the story sucks. And so the fact that I'm still saying go watch it in a theater, go spend your money on like extra money on IMAX as well, right? Like it's because it really does look that beautiful. It really is an incredible looking film. So that's point one. Point two, about what you were saying for what is real and what isn't. For best visual effects, though, does that matter? Like, isn't the whole point of best visual effects, to me, the way I've always interpreted the category was kind of an amalgamation of the two. Like, what you combine practical effects with the computer effects. Production design, I completely agree with you about. I don't know why Avatar is in there, but for visual effects, to me, it is very well placed. Like, this is the only category that I feel like it should have been in. Even though, you know, maybe it's less on the practical, and whereas some of these other movies that are listed, the other nominees, they do probably a better job of, not probably, they definitely did a better job of blending CGI with practical effects, whereas Avatar is all CGI with humans. I don't know, whatever. I think we talked about this too much.
Okay. The one that I want to win, though, is Top Gun Maverick, and I say this because one of the things that sort of confuses me about this category, and I don't know if there's a solid answer, is do they consider practical effects visual effects?
I thought
because technically they're two different things.
Yeah.
You know, I work in film, and these are two completely separate departments. We have a visual effects department, and you know, the people come on set and they watch everything and they advise the director on what they need to do for their post-production sort of stuff. And then we have special effects people, and they are the people that are flipping cars and lighting buildings on fire and filling rooms with smoke and all that sort of stuff. So they're very different things. Does that matter for this category? I don't know. If it does not matter, then I want Top Gun because they flew planes and made everything seamless.
I don't think it does matter.
And that's all I've got.
The only reason I would say it doesn't matter is because I think, I think because it's kind of a lame reason for it. There's no other category. Whereas exactly. Like sound, for example, like they had split it. So you could say, okay, we're going to divide, like it is two very separate things that we're considering. And I don't kind of hate that they put it together. I suppose it's in the same makeup and hairstyling thing. Like I can understand why they put the two. They
go together. Yeah. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, and
and a lot of the time on film they use one. They combine them together. So if a building is on fire, there'll be practical flames there for the actor to sort of quote unquote interact with. But then it will be augmented with visual effects to make it look bigger and more intense and things like that. So while they're separate departments, they also work together in the same way.
And in a sense, like, to me, that's kind of what we're judging it on, right? Because we're judging, even though, like, I know these, when we break it down into categories, we're looking at like a very singular aspect of movie making. But to me, when you say visual effects, like, it is about how well does the practical effects work with the computer? Because nowadays, what movie doesn't have both? You know, like, even random dramatic, like, movies that you don't expect to have CGI, they have CGI, right? Like, so it's just kind of, that's just, to me, it just kind of makes the most sense that you would consider both aspects of it. And Avatar, it is kind of a funny one, I suppose, because we don't know. I don't know. We don't need to talk about Avatar anymore. Let's move on.
I'm going to quickly run through the shorts categories. Sure. I'm not going to say all the nominees because I'm sure most people haven't seen them, but I'll quickly list off who I think and will win. I'm going to start with documentary short. There is a pretty great documentary. I believe it's on Netflix called Elephant Whisperers. And it is about this older couple in India who work on an elephant reserve sanctuary, and about how they are raising elephants from, they specifically are taking care of young elephants. So it's 2 elephants that came to them, one via its parents died, and another one got lost from its tribe and was hurt, if I'm remembering correctly. And just sort of, the beauty of elephants and the bond that people can make with them and the creatures that they are. It's stunning to watch, and I highly recommend people to watch it. It's on Netflix, so it's super easy to watch. I want it, and I think it will win because it's very tug on your heartstrings for that. Live action short. I want a movie called The Irish Goodbye to win. It's this really funny short about 2 brothers, one of whom has Down syndrome, and their mother dies, and they decide to, despite their strained relationship, they decide to complete their dying mother's bucket list, and so they sort of rebond because of that. It's really funny. It's heartfelt. Performances are good. So top to bottom, really, really good one. That said, I think if Irish Goodbye doesn't win, the winner is going to be one called Les Pupilles, which is an Italian film with a French name. But it is also easy to watch because it is on Disney Plus. It's sort of this irreverent movie about young girls who are living in a Catholic boarding school in Italy during World War II. And it's, it's kind of cute. It's kind of irreverent, and it's produced by Alfonso Cuarón, and it's also financed by Disney. So there's a lot of push behind stuff like that. And you never bet against the House of Mouse. And the last one is animated short. And the one that I want to win is, I need to look up the full name here. I just did the short form name. It's a long name. An ostrich told me the world is fake, and I think I believe him. Fantastic title. It's this great claymation stop motion film. It's surreal and meta. You see the animator at times. It's very unique, and I really love it. Because for this category, I need the animation to be good, and I need the story to be good. That said, the one that I think is going to win is called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And I believe this is also on Disney Plus. It's going to win because it's a really bad short. It's like a Hallmark greeting card. It is literally 20 minutes of people saying the sappiest slogans you have ever heard about love and life and family and friends and what all that means and all that sort of stuff. And none of it is deep, but it features some big cast members. Idris Elba is in it. There's a few. There's only 4 actors. One of them is a child, but the other 3 are all well known. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I can't read it. But this one is probably going to win, and it's going to make a lot of people who watch all the shorts very angry.
One thing I was going to say is, I think it's interesting. I like that the shorts are being are more widely available nowadays. I think more than ever, really, and that has a lot to do with streaming. But it sounds like it's more to do with Disney Plus streaming, which is unfortunate because, like you said, you don't bet against the mouse, because anything that's backed by Disney will probably win. Not that it is deserving of the win, but it will probably win. So it's kind of a weird thing where they're going to win, but they're also making shorts a bit more accessible to people, which I think is great, because I don't think short films are something that the general movie-going public tend to seek out. So I think if you can put them on streaming services, and maybe this will be a call for like Prime and Netflix and HBO and all everybody else to start putting shorts up on their platforms, because it's a great way to watch some like new filmmakers. Like, I always think of short films as being a great starting point to look at who's coming up and like who's going to be interesting. But when you say that, like Alfonso Cuarón directed one, that kind of goes.
He produced
it. Sorry, kind of goes. Well, that's not that bad then. That's not that bad. Yeah. But it's interesting. But I need to watch these. I haven't really done a good job with watching the short films this year, so I need to sit down and just plug away and watch them.
Yeah, I used to always enjoy going to the theater because you could watch the packages.
Yeah, I like that. I like that they do that.
Yeah, and that's always fun. And usually because the animated shorts are overall shorter than the other ones, they usually pad it out by including a couple of the long list nominees too. So that's sort of fun to be like, well, which ones did it beat out? And you can sort of compare a little bit to that, which was always a lot of fun to do.
I'll say, for people who like attend film festivals as well, I always say go to watch at least once, like go watch the packaged shorts. It's like 90 minutes usually, the slot. And it's really cool. Like I always enjoyed going and watching a bunch of shorts. Granted, I haven't seen any of the shorts this year, but I will.
All right, let's move on. Speed this up a little bit. We've got original screenplay, and the nominees for this category are The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. I just talked a lot there, so Rachel, how about you lead us off for this category?
We should point out that the Writers Guild Awards hasn't happened yet. That's happening in a couple days from when we're recording this, so I would say my predictions might change depending on how those guys vote. The ones that for original screenplay, I want Banshees of Inisherin to win. I just think it's a fun script. I really enjoy it. I love the Everything Everywhere All at Once script as well. But Banshees there's just a lot of lines from it that I really love. Not that there's not lines from Everything Everywhere All at Once that I love as well. The one that I think is going to win, though, is Tar.
Really? And why is that?
Again, it's just me being like, the Academy loves shit like this, don't they? Like, the Academy loves movies like Tar. Tar is the kind of movie that when you talk about, like, I thought it was really funny. A lot of people were going after the Daniels, were being like, you made such an Oscar bait movie, like with all the diversity and inclusivity. And they were like, if I was making an Oscar bait movie, do you think I would put like hot dog fingers and butt plugs in it? Like, that's not an Oscar bait movie. Tar, though, is exactly what the Academy is always looking for. And it wasn't, I mean, it was nominated pretty well, but like, I think that we can all agree it's not going to win. It's not going to have a stellar night, like, right? It's not going to come away with a ton of awards. But I do think that they're looking to recognize it in some way, shape, or form. And I think this will definitely change for me depending on how the Writers Guild Awards goes. But my gut feeling is it's going to be Tar. Not necessarily because of quality, just because of the way that the Academy tends to vote.
So I look at this category and I think the key is original. And for me, it's Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I don't think there's a more original movie. Yes, there was another multiverse movie this year, and that was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but it showed how bad you can make a multiverse movie, whereas Everything Everywhere sort of did the opposite and was like, hey, I know it's a cool idea. How about we actually make it good, though? So that's my sort of 2 cents of that. I would love it if Tar won, so that'd be making my night. But I think it's going to win. I think Everything Everywhere is going to win.
I'd love for it to win. Absolutely would love for it to win.
Because we're going to reveal some stuff about who we think is going to win the biggest awards. And usually if you win the biggest awards, it means you're also probably going to win some of the smaller awards. And I think this is one that it would pick up along the way.
Interesting. I would say of the other ones that we haven't mentioned yet, I think The Fabelmans actually has a really good shot. That could be like a real dark horse to get in there, because there's it's Steven Spielberg. People love him, and Tony Kushner as well. Like, people are big fans. So, but I would be very happy if you were correct and I was wrong. I would love that. I would love that.
I would be happy either way, but yeah, that would be it. Let's move on to adapted screenplay, and we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Story, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. Now, sort of how I said the thing I consider the most in original screenplay is the original aspect of it. I haven't read any of the originals or source materials for any of these, so I can't base it on how the adaptation goes. That said, I would love it if the Academy voters do consider how they adapt a previous source material.
You think they're actually reading it, though? Like, if you were voting, you actually think they're taking the time to be like, I'm going to read the book that Women Talking was based off of. Like, even though Glass Onion and Top Gun are technically, like, it's because it's based off of old characters, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if anybody's actually reading them.
Yeah. Living is based off of a previous movie. Was there a book out of? No, there was not. It was just based solely on a movie. All Quiet is based on a book. They're not basing it on the previous film adaptations. And Women Talking was also a book. I would be pretty down with All Quiet on the Western Front winning this. I know you'd like that. I think it does a great job because I've seen the original All Quiet distinguishing itself enough from that. And from what I know about the original book and source material, yes, it follows it a bit closer than the original film does, but I think it also sort of updates it more to a modern setting of how we can understand and really sympathize with these characters as well, and sort of see what they're going through in a very unique way. That said, I think my runner-up for who I want to win is going to win, and that's Women Talking. I think one of the key aspects of this category is dialogue, and Women Talking, other than maybe Knives Out, features the most talking. It's right there in
Sorry, that's why I laughed, because you're like, it's about dialogue with women talking. I'm like, yeah, it is about dialogue with women talking, isn't it?
This category is about how well you write dialogue, and I think Women Talking does it really well, and I think that might be something for it to win. And also, it would be a way of the Academy being like, hey, we're not giving you Best Picture, but we are still going to give you Best Adapted Screenplay.
So I agree with you. I think Women Talking is going to win. Similar to my Tar thing, I don't necessarily think it's about quality. I think it's just about the kind of movie that it is. And I think, I actually do think Sarah Polley's kind of garnering a bit of sympathy. I'm not saying this is like a pity party for Sarah Polley either, because I think she's very talented in what she does. But I think that people have been a bit surprised that that movie hasn't done as well over the awards season, like across all of the awards, even in Toronto. So I think that it's a movie that I think a lot of people do like, and a lot of people are behind it. I think it's going to, and it's very topical as well in a way. So I do think it's going to win. My pick would be, I guess I'm completely aligned with you here. Yeah, my pick for the one that I want to win is obviously All Quiet, because like you said, it's a great modernization of that story, but still, really retaining what it was like for them back then. And I think, as you said, the movie is not, the adaptation aspect of it is not about the first movie that was made back in the 30s, which was an American style one. I think that it's more about like the fact that it comes from a German perspective, the fact that, we're looking at it through a very, very different lens to when, the book came out to when the movie came out. I think it's a perfect adaptation of that story and of that war. So yeah, I'm a big All Quiet fan, if you haven't noticed.
I have not at all. All right, let's move on to Best Animated Feature. And for this, we've got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Marcel, what?
I was like, we haven't even done animated yet. I didn't realize that. No, we haven't done documentary, we haven't done international. Okay.
No, that's
let's go. Okay.
So we've got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Bus, and Turning Red. Rachel, what are your thoughts on this?
The Sea Beast.
The Sea Beast. What did I say?
Bus?
The sea because I live in Vancouver, I take the sea bus occasionally, so maybe that's on my mind.
You've changed, man. You've changed. I'm gonna go with it's Del Toro. He's gonna win this. Like, I feel like there's a few categories that are Sherlocks, and his is a Sherlock. Like, he's won every single award there is to win for this, and it's brilliant. Like, it's a great movie, and the animation, like the stop motion that he does, the puppet, like, it's all pretty incredible. My personal pick is Puss in Boots, though. I think it's, if you haven't seen it, I'm not a huge Shrek person. Like, I didn't really ride with Shrek that much. But this is making me be like, oh, I could use another Shrek movie. Because I just think the animation was so cool in it. It was so great. Like, the blending of different styles of animation as well, I thought was just absolutely inspired. So yeah, my pick is, personal pick would be Puss in Boots, but the one that I think is going to win is GDT.
Yeah, I'm not as over the moon for Puss in Boots as you are. Mine, I was quite surprised that I liked. Much like the animated short, I do consider the animation along with the story.
Yeah, Puss in Boots story.
It's hard.
It's okay.
Yes, yeah, I found it a little reductive, even if it was still a funny, cute story. It's hard to argue against Del Toro. Yeah. You know, I love the man, and I finally watched it today before I was recording. I was really putting it off because I really don't like the story of Pinocchio.
Me neither. I really don't like Pinocchio's story. It's a terrible story.
Yeah. And the fact that he was able to, you know, move the story up in time to be about 1930s fascist Italy and, you know, make it the satire sort of thing, but then also add his unique Del Toro creepiness in a way that only he does with fantasy, like the sprites and that sort of stuff, and the dead rabbit who are the pallbearers, all that sort of stuff is quite unnerving. Like, this is not a kid's movie at all.
It's very adult. Like, it's a very adult version of Pinocchio. But if you think of the story of Pinocchio, like, it is a very adult story. Like, it's a creepy ass story. Yeah. Like, it's not for children.
It really is.
But yeah, Del Toro is amazing.
And the fact that there's no the Pixar movie this year isn't Pixar's strongest movie, and there's no Disney movie, so there's really no competition for it. I also want this movie to win, really. Yeah, I'm everything that you had said about it, I'm in complete agreement.
I'll say one thing. Why is Marcel the Shell in here? I don't agree with that being in this.
I don't know.
Shouldn't be. It's not an animated movie. Like, but whatever.
If Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is an animated movie, then so is The Lion King from a couple years ago.
And so, I mean, then why is an Avatar in here? Like, it just, it doesn't make sense to me.
Avatar's also an animated movie.
Like, it's kind of, it's weird. Whatever. Yeah, who knows? We can run the Academy one day, but it's not today.
Ugh, yeah. All right, let's move on to Best International Film. And so our nominees for this category are All Quiet on the Western Front from Germany, Argentina 1985 from Argentina, Close from the Netherlands,
Belgium,
EO from Poland. Sorry, Belgium. Thank you. I was going off memory, so I'm glad you corrected me there. Close from Belgium, EO from Poland, and The Quiet Girl from Ireland. I've only seen 3 of the 5 of this, so I can't really comment on Argentina 1985 and EO. Of what I've seen, All Quiet on the Western Front is my favorite, and much like Ke Huy Quan has been literally murdering people in their sleeps to win awards, All Quiet on the Western Front has equally been sawing down competition. So much so that this might even be a dark horse candidate for Best Picture.
I don't know why you're so violent today. There's just a lot of violence in you at this moment. Yeah, so I love the international film category. I think it's always like probably the more exciting one, especially in the last few years. I think it's like a really great. It's always a really solid category, and I think this year is really, really great as well. I loved Close. It's one of my favorites of the year. I was a really, really big fan of the movie. I obviously am picking All Quiet as the one that I want to win because I love that movie. In terms of what I think is going to win, though, I'm very torn between All Quiet and Argentina 1985. I was a bit surprised because Argentina 1985 it has like a lot of people really, really like it. And I will say I wasn't as drawn to it. Like, I think it's great, and I think the story is really interesting. But for me, it's not, like, I would put it in the bottom 2 for me for this category. But yeah, so I'm actually quite torn between the two. I think the safer bet is probably All Quiet, just because it's done really, really well. It's a great movie. But then Argentina's been doing really well. I'll stick with All Quiet. I'll go with All Quiet. I'll say it's All Quiet. It's going to win.
All right, let's move on to Best Documentary, and we've got All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters, and Navalny. Rachel, what are your thoughts on this category?
Really good year for documentaries, actually. I think I said earlier I hadn't seen all the documentaries. I realized I'm just missing one, just House Made of Splinters. The rest of them I have seen. So the one that I really, really love, and I just was very taken with this movie, was Fire of Love. I think it's so great. I love the story behind the two volcanologists. I love that that's a word as well. But when I was reading up about the film, one thing that I thought was really great about it was the footage that they had of volcanoes. Like, obviously normal people don't get very close to volcanoes. Like, we just don't do that. And the fact that they have such tremendous footage that they're able to put into the film. I was just like, how did they even get that? How does it look so good? And all that. And then I read up on it, and Sarah Dosa, who is the director, she worked so hard on restoring a lot of the footage with another team as well. It wasn't just her obviously doing it. But for that reason alone, in a way, like that kind of blew me away. And that's what it makes it for me, the one that I want to win, because I think the story it tells is great, which a documentary should do, but the footage is stunning. And the amount of work that went into restoring that footage, because it is from I want to say the 70s. And obviously, given that you're near volcanoes, like, your camera and your equipment's not going to be the best at times, because it will maybe go a little bit wonky. I just think what they've done with that movie is tremendous. And that's on Disney Plus as well, for anybody who wants to watch it. I think it's really, really great movie. The one that I think is going to win, though, is Navalny. That's just been picking up awards everywhere. Everywhere that it shows, and every award show that it goes through, it's been picking it up, and it's good. I think it's a good one. It's obviously very, very topical at the moment. It talks about I might butcher this. So it's basically about it was a Russian spy, I want to say, who got poisoned. And fun fact, the director is Canadian, so there's that as well.
It's based on the official opposition
Thank
leader.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And not only is he Canadian, I've mentioned on an earlier episode, but the director went to the same high school I went to. So there are interesting connections there. I've only seen 3.5 of these, as I said off the top of the show. But my want is All That Breathes.
Very good.
This is kind of a weaker of the 3.5 I've seen so far. It's a bit of a weaker category overall for me this year. The documentary branch, I never know what the hell they're doing. They often miss some of the biggest documentaries, not only to win, but to even be nominated. And this year, sort of no exception. But All That Breathes, I found it a really sort of beautiful film about a family that is taking care of birds in don't want to get the country wrong here, in India. Yes, I've already messed up once this episode, but they take care of birds in India, and it's really incredible what they do with both the footage that they capture and the sort of the dialogue it creates about conservation and animal hospitality and all that sort of stuff, and everything that is also going on in the background of India at the same time.
It's a great movie. I just want to say, because it sounds really dull when you describe it like that, because I would describe it the same way, but it's a lot more exciting than that. Because that's the thing with documentaries, is it sounds really boring sometimes. You're just like, it's about birds, but it's really interesting. Like, It's actually a really interesting one. And like you said, the footage is pretty great as well.
Mm-hmm. That said, I'm in agreement with you. I think Navalny is going to win. It is oftentimes for documentary and also for international as well, to a lesser extent. The award will often go to what is the most topical film. And Navalny winning would basically be the Academy's way of giving a middle finger to Putin and Russia and everything that's happening over there. And I think they would only be far too happy to pat themselves on the back to be like, ha, look what we did. I bet you're real angry with us there, Vlad. So yeah, I think Navalny's going to win.
Really liking the commentary from you today. It's great.
I'm a little sassy today, aren't I?
Sassy today. I'm enjoying it though. It's good.
Okay, good. Hopefully this makes for good radio. Let us move on to our second to last category, and that is Best Director. And we've got Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. For me, I think this is actually a fairly strong category. I'd probably remove Steven Spielberg. I like originality in this category, and even Martin McDonagh I'd probably remove as well if we were doing that, but we're not, so I'm not going to dwell too much of that.
Sassy Dakota.
Obviously, you know you're basically pulling from the Best Picture list, and you're picking 5 from that list and sort of narrowing it down. And I really value vision and originality in the direction. And that means you know exactly who I'm going to pick for who I want and who I think. Well, who I want is the Daniels, because the originality is absolutely there, and I really appreciate everything that they do, where they're both paying homage to the films that came before them as far as blending genres in action films and just a whole lot of different inspiration that you can watch and just sort of feel everything that they've poured into it. But also it's uniqueness too. That said, I also think it's going to win because I think Everything Everywhere is the biggest movie. It's got the most nominations, and we'll probably walk away with this. What about you,
Completely
Rachel?
agree with you on both sides. It's the one that I want. I want the Daniels to win. I also think that they're going to win. They won at the Directors Guild, which I believe is like probably the biggest predictor for this category in particular. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I pretty much echo everything that you said. I think that like a movie like this, everything that we've talked about it, from the different performances, the editing that you talked about earlier, you know, you need a strong vision at the start and who's guiding you through it. And they have two Daniels who are doing it really well. And it's pretty incredible that this movie has done as well as it's done in the awards campaign thing. And I think that, like, if you watch any of their interviews, they are just as shocked as anybody else that they have made it like this. It's very kind of funny to see, but I think it's theirs. Like I do really think that it's their award to take, and I don't know if I wouldn't remove Spielberg personally. I would probably remove Todd Field, but that's just me. We can move on.
All right. So then we are now at our big one of the night, and that is Best Picture. And I think, you know, maybe there might be less surprises than we think based on our discussion.
I still
that we
don't
had.
know.
Well, let's start with who do you want to win?
I mean, All Quiet, obviously. Like that, I genuinely love that movie. I think it is one of the first, not the first time, but because I haven't been doing this for very long, but it's one of those moments where it's like, I do believe that the Best Picture of the year it also happens just to be my favorite movie of the year. And that doesn't necessarily always happen. I just think it's an incredible film, and what they did with the scope of the production and the cinematography and all of those like technical stuff, that's incredible. But then you mix it in with a story that is very poignant, very moving. It's an adaptation that we already discussed, kind of the challenges and the successes that they've had in adapting a movie like this. It's just, for me, it's an all around, like I have only ever given one movie a 10 out of 10, and it was this movie. Cause I know that there's people who have like some problems with it, quote unquote. But for me, it's a perfect movie, and I would love for it to win Best Picture. I don't think it will though, but I would love for it to win.
Okay, so then I'll say my want, and also going to be no surprise here. It's Tar. I really, really love this movie. I hear you rolling your eyes, Rachel. Come on, show your disgust more. I dare you.
Convince me it's a great movie.
This movie completely centers around an absolutely balls-to-the-wall performance by Cate Blanchett, and giving every sort of, you know, type of performance in this movie that you absolutely need. She's completely believable as this world famous composer. She's got the cockiness to back up the acting to show that she knows what she's doing. That's really evident. And then also we get this really interesting sort of mystery angle of, do we believe her? Do we not believe her? Has she really done the thing she's been accused of? To what extent has she done the thing that she's being accused of? And it all is weaved together with Todd Fields' incredible direction and script to make a real masterpiece of a movie. And I really like the progression of the film, to the point there when you get to the very end, you're left wondering, is what has happened to her, is it a punishment? Is this her trying to rehabilitate herself? Did she get off completely? And you're sort of left with this weird mix of emotions of, I don't know how to feel about everything that happened in this movie. And I really appreciate that. So you can now unclench your jaw and release the blood from your tongue that you've been biting this whole time.
I mean, again, with such just violent imagery that you're throwing today, I'm not going to shit on this movie. I really am not, because I think it's lovely that you love it, and I think that's great. It's just I just didn't connect with it. Mm-hmm. Like, I hear people talk about it in, such hyperbolic terms like you just did, and I just don't really get it. Like, I just don't see what people are seeing that I'm like. I've watched it twice. I watched it a second time just so I could be like, is it something? And I just don't click with it. I think Cate Blanchett's good in it, but she's, I don't think it's anything exceptional for her career. And again, maybe that's just me putting her up on a bit of a higher standard than any other actress. But I mean, it's Cate Blanchett. She's a great actress. So I don't know. When you said like at the end, you're kind of left not knowing to think. I knew what I thought at the end of it. I was like, I don't like this movie. That's what I thought about it. That's exactly what I thought about it. But I did appreciate that somebody who wrote that about, like, was it a ghost story or something like that? Like, she was dead all the time.
Oh yeah,
that made me laugh.
That
made me laugh. I was just like, okay, that's where we're going with this movie. Fine, that's probably more exciting than what I watched. So at least somebody took some entertainment out of it. But anyways, what is your pick for who do you think is actually going to win Best Picture?
No. Stop stalling.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like, I've mentioned Elvis a lot, right? Like, I think that Elvis I think that there's a lot of love for it. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture, though. Like, I just don't see it. So the thing with the Best Picture category that I think is different to all the other ones is that there's a ranked ballot for this. And that messes things up. And also, it's the only, or I don't know if it's the only, but I know it's the category that, like, everybody votes on, right? Like, it doesn't matter what branch you're a part of, everybody's going to vote on this one, which is why I don't think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win. Because I do think that even though that they've done a great amount of efforts to, I was going to say euthanize, to make it younger, to make the Academy a bit younger and a bit more diverse, I do still think that there's enough people in the Academy where Everything Everywhere All at Once is just a weird movie. And because there's that ranked ballot, I just don't see it being the one that gets the prize at the end of the day. So then does that mean something like Tar, The Fabelmans, Elvis, maybe those do make it in? Top Gun would be a really exciting choice. I think that would be kind of fun to just see it kind of go in. I don't know. I could be really like spicy and just say The Fabelmans.
TikTok.
I'll go. You know what? I'm just as I did with Michelle Yeoh. I'm gonna back myself and say that it's gonna be All Quiet on the Western Front. It's not gonna be.
There we go. There we go.
Fine, whatever.
As John says, I love your all guts, no glory pick for All Quiet. I'm just gonna go with conventional wisdom. It's got 11 nominations. I think it's gonna win.
I really don't think
the most the night. Yes, I
it's not though, Dakota. It's not.
I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win. Am I as confident as you that it won't win? No, but I'm fairly confident that it won't.
Really?
Win. I don't know what is going to be the runner-up if it isn't, because I'm not really seeing a path for Banshees. No. Elvis, it's going to pick up a lot of technical stuff. It would have to win Best Actor and get all the technical things that we were talking about as far as production design, hair and makeup, costume, for me to think that it is getting into picture. And same as All Quiet, it's going to have to start picking up some stuff outside of just international for me to think that it really stands a chance, which is why I think Everything Everywhere is going to end up winning it.
You know what? I'm going to change mine. I'm going to get spicy. I'm going to say it's The Fabelmans. I'm going to take The Fabelmans to win. Done.
Why, Rachel? Why will The Fabelmans win?
Because it's Steven Spielberg. And I think that enough people have a lot of love for him. And I think that enough people... Like, again, it's that ranked ballot thing. Like, I think he'll have more up at the top than at the bottom. So I think it's going to be... I don't. But I'm going to go with The Fabelmans. And we're done.
Okay. Fair enough. There we go. These are our picks. Who knows if we're going to be right or not. We will reveal the results of our picks after the Oscars come out, after the Oscars happen. And we can see who is more deserving of mockery, Rachel or myself.
You and I had a lot of the same, though, didn't we?
We sort of did, yeah. We have some differences.
Bit, yeah.
Rachel, thank you so much. Where can people find more of your work and what are you working on?
RachelKH.com, as always, _RachelKH on Twitter. What am I working on right now? I don't think I have anything new out at the moment because, as Dakota said earlier, I am traveling, so I haven't been taking on as much, but I'm trying to think what else I'm going to have. Yeah, no, nothing. Go to the Asian Cut. There's stuff on there. Do that.
Cool. Okay. Well, this has been a That Shelf podcast. Visit thatshelf.com for more great film discourse. Follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at contrazoompod. Who do you think is going to win Best Picture? Is Rachel right or am I right? I don't know. Send an email to contrazoompod@gmail.com. Thank you to Eric and Kevin Smale for the theme music and to Stephanie Pryor for the logo design. If you like to listen to podcasts on YouTube, we do post all episodes there as well. And if you really like the show, consider tipping us on coffee. Thanks for checking us out.
Sassy Dakota.